This is episode 276 of the Super League pod. It starts with someone stepping down from their club and ends with someone stepping down on one knee, and that's nothing to do with Tommy Makinson. In between, we have the Cup recap and NRL Britwatch stats, but really it's news heavy, and instead of peak Rugby League, we have three-peak Rugby League. Make your own minds up whether we got a tasty deal or a tasteless deal. Just do so from the safety of your own DCE. Strap in, mask up, it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 276 of the Super League pod. On this week's show you have myself, Mark, Wigan fan, and we're joined by Tim G this week, Hull Kingston Rovers fan. So both of us will have some stuff to talk about in the news that relates to our clubs.
Yeah, we've both got a slice of the action here, so it should be quite a big show.
Yeah, excellent. It will be a news-heavy show. It'll feel a little bit more like those last few weeks of the season lockdown rather than the last few weeks where we've had plenty of Super League action to talk about. But doesn't mean we don't have plenty of on-the-field action to talk about as well as off-the-field stuff. Do you want to tell people, first of all, though, who our sponsor is, our wonderful sponsor?
Yeah, so this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop, where you can find a wide range of toys, gifts, Rugby League birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. If you head on over to stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5, you can earn 5% cash back, and also 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers just by adding SLP discount at checkout.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks to Rob's Toy Shop for their continued support, and please do keep supporting our sponsors, and we'll give you some more information on our other partners at the end of the show, and you can support those guys too. But I think, given how much news there is to talk about, Tim, we probably just let's go to the news.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So after the shortest opening to an SLP episode ever, we now move into what I don't think will be the shortest news section ever, because we're going to start with a big news story that broke today that affects your club in particular, Tim. So Hull Kingston Rovers chairman Neil Hudgell will step down from his role at the club in December, ending a 16-year association with the Robins, who are now seeking new ownership. Hudgell became the sole owner of the club after Rob Crossland's departure in April of last year, and subsequently also the major investor at Craven Park. During his tenure, Rovers have made it into the Super League and also reached a Challenge Cup final in 2015, which was my stag do. Hudgell's come out with a statement sort of to go alongside this news. He said, "Lockdown has given me a chance to reflect on the sport, the club and my personal situation. Hull Kingston Rovers has been an all-consuming journey for me over the last 16 years, and I have decided that now is the right time for change. Coming back to play brings with it a return to the same old stresses and anxieties. The weight of expectation for a club of our size and support base is enormous and needs more than I feel I am able to than I am now able to give. With all that in mind, I do not believe I can do justice to it any longer, which would be letting down the magnificent support base of our great club." He said that he's taken the club. Is leaving the club in a much greater place than he left the club in, Tim, and is that how you feel?
Yeah, 3,000% better than it was before. The thing is, I've only been with the club probably just after he started, so as a supporter. So I've only ever known sort of Neil Hudgell being involved and been the sort of focal point of the club. And I think he's also set the standard in terms of being an owner in Super League and being responsible and being very prudent with what he spends and where he spends it. Sometimes, he's not afraid to talk to the media and use the media to get his point across. And, back in the chairman's statement wars days, he was front and centre in that. But I think he's obviously very tactical, very shrewd businessman and lawyer to get where he is. So I think he doesn't do things lightly. But I think, where he's taken the club from, and you look back to the state the club and the ground are in, to a regular Super League participant It's a million miles away. He's obviously put everything in, and you can tell that from the passion that he shows, particularly on Twitter and things you hear about him. But also, if you meet him in person as well, you can really see that comes across.
Yeah, we did get a take from the other side of the city. Joshua's granddad got in touch. He said, "Credit to Hudge, he's kept them afloat for a long time. But this is the end of But is this the end of the Dobbins, or will Tom Andrews put in his bid to save them? Hopefully, Page has a tight grip on the purse strings." On a slightly more serious note, but kind of in that range of Tom being a prominent Hull KR fan within the Super League pod world. It does look like the fans group is starting to get shares in the club. By the looks of things, is one of the potential kind of routes for new investment at this time. But Hudgell has been a lifelong fan of the club and has really shown a lot of passion. And like you say, sometimes that's done through statements, sometimes it's done through reactions on social media and things like that. Always, I guess, with the interest of his club at the front of things, and sometimes it's been emotional reaction, sometimes otherwise. But really, the journey that the club has been on since he's been there has got the club back to a position where they hadn't been in my lifetime. I don't remember the Hull Kingston Rovers side of the 60s, 70s, and early 80s that had star players. And international players playing for them, leading captains of the sport that that they've had there at that club. I don't remember that version of the club. It was new to me as well, sort of the Hudgell era of Hull Kingston Rovers in my supporting of the sport. So I think he has done a great job there. What do you think it means for the club going forward? Does it cause you any worry for the club?
It does in a way. I think, the stability we've had has always been one of the things we've been able to build. Even if you've had a bad season or even got relegated, you can say, well, we've still got that stability of ownership. And you've seen other clubs who previously had stable owners go from bang to bust very quickly, and other clubs that were at one point the model of how to do things in terms of marketing and development, and they've gone to the wall multiple times. And so it is a worry, and it's making sure that the right investors come in, because running a Super League club is not a cheap business, but also you need the right expertise as well to lead it, and you need the right leadership at the right level. So getting that, and then there's not long been a change of CEO, so it's quite a lot of change in a short space of time. So it is something that's of concern, but Neil Hudgell isn't going to just give it to anyone. He's going to do some proper due diligence, I would imagine, and make sure that he feels it's in a safe place to hand it over. I can't imagine, having built what he's built, he wants to just give it away to anyone. So I think it's a question. I think looking wider, it's probably something we'll see more of, is a lot of the owners who've been through this lockdown period might look to move on, as it has been so demanding on them personally and also financially. But there's just the actual demands and the sort of sheer stress that everyone's been under. It doesn't surprise me that now is the sort of time, once we're sort of coming out the side of the immediate problems and we're back to playing, that clubs are looking to, and owners are looking to move on.
Yeah, I mean, the period where the club got relegated and then the sort of recommitment that Hudgell showed then, and for the club to come back, I think that to me is going to be one of the sort of defining memories I'll have of Hudgell's time at Hull Kingston Rovers, because I think that was managed incredibly well, really, in terms of how he ran the club through that period. And obviously he'd leave with the club being guaranteed as a Super League club for at least one more year, which would be promising. He's given his ideas on how the sport should move sort of forward as well at the Super League level, which, the way he's expressed it, will probably guarantee Hull Kingston Rovers being a Super League club for another year after that as well. So is looking at more strategic, longer term. So it seems like he's not necessarily completely fallen out of love with the sport. Certainly hasn't fallen out of love with the club and the support base and stuff. So it does seem like he won't want to do anything stupid here in terms of how it's passed on. But like you say, with significant amount of change, I mean, even on the field, the amount of players that have turned over in the squad in the last 2 seasons, and the fact that there's a new coach at the helm now and stuff, even the on the field stuff has been through a drastic period of change recently, and with the changing of the makeup of the board and of the chief executive position, like I say, it's gone through a lot of change, and probably it's not, I don't know if there's a perfect time though, for whether it's good because there's other changes in place, so it helps other people initiate new ideas and that sort of stuff. If there's a full-scale change, or if you want something to keep you stable through that period. But either way, no one can question what Hudgell's done for the club.
No, and I think it's right at first, and it's initially to just say thank you and look back and respect what's done, and the questions for the future ownership is tomorrow's question. That's going forward, but certainly a period of reflection to look back and be thankful, I think, is the first order of things, and that we've got to do.
Yeah, and you said 3,000% better position for the club. I mean, even if you just arrive at the stadium now, it's a different experience. Some things have managed to stay the same and that are good about the club, and then some things have managed to be really massively improved. So, like I say, it's a big well done, I think, for the job that he's done over 16 years at Hull Kingston Rovers there for Neil Hudgell. Let's move on, shall we?
Yeah. Right, the next news story is St Helens winger Tommy Makinson has been banned for 5 games after pleading guilty to a low grab. Well, certainly was low on several levels. On Castleford Tigers properly, and Watts, the 28-year-old, has also been fined £500 for his other contrary behaviour charge was downgraded by a panel from grade F, the most serious, so that would be equivalent to Ben Flower knocking Lotso higher out and ending his career, to grade A, grade E, sorry.
He played at hooker consistently the next season for some reason. Let's not.
Downgraded to a grade E, so I'm trying to think of a recent grade E charge, but there we go. Makinson's previous good disciplinary record was taken into account at the tribunal. The England player will be unavailable for selection till early October.
Yeah, we had a couple of fan views in. Tom Andrews said 5 games for Tommy Tickler is about right based on previous or lack of in this case. Been thinking of Watts' reaction to this. Back in his dull days, he would have done something other than tell the ref on him, like hit him with his head. In brackets, not that one. Seems Powell has calmed him down. And Fatboy Rob said, it's a grade F, 8 games, no ifs, no buts. Unless you play for one of the big 4, and while I'm on one, why does Baldy Judas get 0 games for a carbon copy of Pete's offence? Well, we're going to talk about one of your own players who got a downgrade in a minute, Rob. So it's not only the big 4 who get downgrade, but I think I called this last week that it probably would get looked at to be a 5 or 6 game ban in the wash. Is I think what I predicted. What did you make of all this?
I think 5 to 6 games is probably about fair if you just look at it on game. I mean, the grading of the charges doesn't really mean anything, does it? It's looking at the number of games he's out for it. I think that's probably about fair. It does give him a chance to come back before the end of the season. And actually, from an England point of view, it does stop him picking up any injuries for a few games and gives him a rest. He's got a break period, a decent break now. So he's got a chance to go away, have a holiday at first, and then get some conditioning in. The World Cup is not far away. This does give him the chance to come back fresher. So actually, it might not be bad from an England point of view.
Yeah, potentially. I guess so. I mean, he did have some time off at the start of the year, though, didn't he, as well, as he recovered from his...
Yeah.
He had an off-season because of the shoulder injury he got in the grand final last year. But, yeah, I suppose with the grading, especially of this offence, did they have much to go off when... how much did they have to go off, I suppose, when they made the additional grading? Because I don't think it's an offence that we've seen huge amounts of in Super League games. I can't recall many.
The only ones I can remember are two from the NRL. What, the very famous Burgess one.